Welcome to the Spotlight series. On today's episode, we have Dave Thompson. Dave is a multiple best-selling author and entrepreneur. He's the founder of the Inspirational Book Writers Retreat, where he takes coaches and experts away to paradise for a week to write their book, and he publishes them 6 weeks later. Welcome, Dave. So cool to have you here today.
Yeah, hey Renee. Yeah, awesome to be here. I love this concept. So awesome to be here and share with your audience.
Brilliant. Now, I will say that for those who don't know, Dave's retreat is the retreat that I went on to write my book, and I did write my first draft in 3 days. And really, the setup that Dave provides is phenomenal. I don't think I could have done what I did without the support of Dave and his team. So I'm just going to paint a little picture for you, because really it's hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine how easy it is to write your first draft of your book in 3 days without understanding what you did, Dave. So when I went, it was you and 2 other support people there. And the thing that I love, because I'm a parent of 2 children, so I was away. So for me, this was like a holiday.
Yes.
Even though
totally.
It was a holiday, right? Insane. And the cool thing that I really loved, Dave, was that all I had to do was write my book. And you and the team took care of everything. Like, I did not make a cup of tea. Like, someone even ran my bath, lit the candles. I'm sitting there writing my book like, Renee, it looks like you need some chocolate. Would you like some chocolate? Yes, I think that's exactly what I need right now. Like, it was fabulous. And if I wanted to go for a swim, there was someone there to go with me if I wanted, or I could go on my own. All I had to do was write my book, swim in the ocean, eat when it was served to me, do not touch a dish. Like, it was just brilliant. I think what you've created, Dave, is really fantastic.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you so much. That's very kind words. And, that's to hear you say that really warms my heart, because that's what we're aiming for. Most book writing processes are very difficult. You have the image of someone in their attic, like at 10 p.m. after a long day at work, and the kids are finally asleep and they're, penning away with their old ink pen. And it's like, oh, come on. Like, let's do it easy. Let's make it easy. Let's get the job done, but have heaps of fun at the same time. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think I was shocked to see that I actually had time to go for a swim and write my book. I was quite amazed how much time I had when someone else was taking care of all the nitty-gritty stuff that I do on a daily basis in my,
Totally. Well, I think that's the thing that people sometimes miss, is like they think, oh, well, we're going to the island for a week, we're going to have to smash it out. And it's not the case at all. Like, we work on the concept. One of the big concepts there is self-care, is look after yourself, So if it's day 2 and someone hasn't been to the beach yet, we're like, buddy, get out. Like, Arnold Schwarzenegger voice, get out to the beach now. Like, this is super important, because there's a cycle of like production and then rejuvenation, and we aim to get that flow happening. And that's why you can finish your book in 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you've really got the balance right there of motivating people, getting people going. Like, we had those check-in sessions at each meal. I'd be like, okay, how many words have you got? What's your target for the next session? You've got that kind of going to hold you accountable and make sure that you're being productive and moving forward. But, as you say, you've got that, the soft stuff of balancing that with the self-care. And also what was really cool was the fact that, because if you're at home writing your book, or, you're taking a year or 2 years to write your book, all that crap that comes up as you're writing about yourself and your own story, and all that processing and personal development that kind of comes with, exposing yourself, because you've got to be vulnerable and you're putting yourself out there.
Totally.
So, if you take a year or 2 years to do that, that's probably a natural, organic way to kind of go through a bit of a personal development journey. If you kind of cram all of that into 7 days or 3 days of writing my first draft, as I did, that's a really intense personal development kind of bam.
Totally. Well, that's kind of what, like, there are a lot of business benefits to writing the book, as you would know, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later, like the leverage and the positioning and the credibility and the leads and all these things that come with it. But when you do condense it like that and focus immersively, your stuff does come up. And that's why, that's why we've got the coaches on hand, because book writing, I see it as a process of micro decisions. You sit down, you're in it. It's like, right, do I tell this story in chapter 1 or chapter 2? Actually, you know what? It'd be better served going in chapter 3. And these micro decisions, there's so many of them. And if people get stuck on them, I think that's where people get stuck, is they get stuck on the micro decisions. They don't have anyone to ask for help. And so it just leads to this a bit of a deflated feeling. Whereas if you've got help, it's like, oh, well, I got clarity and here we go again.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it was less about, those micro decisions were less about the structure and more about, not so much the vulnerability, but, I think, that I have very strong language in my book. And in particular, there's, one of the titles of one of my chapters, it's called Work-Life Balance, right? So I had this great big meltdown about, am I going to be excommunicated from my family for using the F word as the title of a chapter? And I had to process that, which I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know. And so all this relationship stuff was coming up around people in my family that I was thinking, oh, I didn't know I was coming to write my book and process this stuff, That was the unexpected kind of, I guess, personal development benefit, but also, I was so grateful to have the coaches there to get me through that stuff, not just let me sit there and wallow, or be stuck in that micro decision, for 7 days straight. So,
totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally. It's a hero's journey. Writing a book is a hero's journey, and you can drag it out and make it very painful, or you can just focus in, get the support you need and get it done. And I'm much more of the view of get it done, because I know the people that, we hang out with, they're very clever people. They have a lot of awesome stuff in here, and it's no good in their head. So much better in a book or any other medium. Book just happens to be a super convenient medium for conveying great ideas. You get your ideas into a book and then go, hey, here's my idea on this. Here's my idea on this. It just allows you to spread your ideas and make an impact. And that's why I love it. And that's why we do it. That's why we do it intensely. Because I see so many people say, Dave, I've been wanting to write this for 7 years. And I'm like, dude, you've had that in your head for 7 years? So what they're saying is, I have great ideas that have not been of service to the world, and I have held on to them for 7 years. It's like, well, come on. Let's get it to the people. Get it to the people. And that's kind of my philosophy behind this. Yeah,
I love that. It's so, and I love, the community that you build around getting our words out to the people as well. And I think that's a really, really important aspect of what you do. So for those people who haven't written a book or haven't even decided if they want to or need to write a book, why write a book? What's the purpose for a coach or an expert or a thought leader?
Well, if you're established, if you've already been in the game for a number of years, then I'd be asking the question, why haven't you written a book already? Because it's really a landmark piece. It's a foundation for your platform, right? If you've been in the game 3, 5, 7 years or more, I would say it's an absolute necessity in this type of game. It's like an essential piece of the puzzle. It's like you play tennis, you have a tennis racket. It's that essential. Why would you write it? Well, there's a heap of business reasons. There's a heap of personal reasons. We could talk about positioning. We could talk about authority. We could talk about leads and opportunities and becoming a bestseller, speaking opportunities, creating the book to be a lead magnet, that type of thing. But deep down, Renee, I really feel it's about getting great ideas to the world to help transform your community or your people that you work with. If you can get a book into a community and solve a problem for them, the ripple effect of that is tremendous. So I guess for me, a big part of this is legacy, and we attract a lot of people that legacy is a big reason for them. You know, they want to have something that's going to be around after they're gone, you know, that's going to be up online, that's going to be available for their kids and their kids' kids. And, you know, it's going to be something that makes an impact beyond their life, because it's kind of like capturing, I always see it as capturing a stage of the journey. You know, like you've traveled on the journey up to here, and right, I'm going to capture the knowledge and put it in a book and get that out to the world. And then I'm going to start on my new journey, you know? And then when I get to a certain point there, I'm going to capture that knowledge and get it out. And that's why you see, you know, some of the big names in personal development and in coaching and these sorts of things, they're writing books like every kind of 1 to 2 years, because they're capturing what they've learned. Yeah, because often we're teachers. People in this space are teachers. So, you know, and we're always doing work ourselves. You know, I was just talking to you about the stuff I've been doing recently, and I know you do a lot of your own stuff all the time, right? You want to capture that and share it with people. I think that's the essence of the game. You know, look, having said that, if there's like a specific kind of, you know, I'll say one more thing. If you're getting started in this game, you know, sometimes people, I've been asked the question, like, if I'm just getting started, is it too early for me to write a book, or do I need to wait? Do I need to have that experience? And it's great to have the experience, but to be honest, when I wrote my first book, I'd been in the game like a year and a bit. And for me, the book was a statement of, I'm here, I'm serious, this is what I stand for, follow me. If you dig my message, if you dig my flavor, here is a proud statement of that. We are going this way, jump on board if you dig. And so I think there's a lot of value in that as being, you know, here I am, I'm out to the world. Because I know before I did that, I was kind of like, oh, am I really doing this? Like I was kind of caught between two worlds. But then when you write a book, it's like, oh, sweet baby mother, here I am.
I'm all in.
Yeah, I'm all in. Like I'm committed. Like this is my statement to the world. It's the statement to my market. It's the statement to the universe. I am here. I'm committed. I'm going this way. This is what I stand for. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's, there's a lot of it about visibility and putting your mark in the world and legacy for sure. And, you know, in terms of the benefits that I've seen from writing my book, you know, the invitations that I get to for speaking gigs, for podcast guests, you know, all these sorts of things, you know, my exposure is so much greater, my impact is greater, because it really is about, you know, credibility and authority. And for me, my book has actually replaced my business cards. I don't bother with business cards. I think, you know, I think they're a waste of the paper they're printed on. For me, I would rather, you know, if I meet someone, think, hey, there's a collaboration opportunity here. You know, there's something that we should explore. I'm like, hey, here's a copy of my book, and I'll personally sign it for them. You know, that's kind of, for me, my book is so powerful because, you know, that person's going to walk away from, you know, maybe they've met 20 people that day, but hopefully they'll remember the one that gave them a signed copy of the book.
Totally, right? Totally. And even more than that, it's when you put your ideas into a book, the person reading it, it's like, you know, however long it takes to read your book, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, however long, they're reading multiple hours of your message in their head. So, and usually, you know, if you haven't given it away, they've paid for that. So think about that. The market is paying you to market to them. That's super cool. And look, even if it's just a couple of dollars with an ebook, you know, it's still a transaction. They are still a customer. They have still signaled to you that they want your stuff. And you know what? Here's the other thing, Renee, that I've absolutely loved. And I didn't really get this until, you know, the last kind of 12 months, is that a book helps. You know, you're saying, oh, here's my book, and this is my book, actually. I just had it lying around.
Here's what I prepared earlier.
You can go to your prospect. Here's my book. Have a read. If you dig it, let's chat. because we'd be a great fit to work together. So in that sense, you can really use your book as a qualifying tool to work with high quality, like primo awesome people, and to weed out the people that you don't want. Because if they don't like it, it's an opt-in, opt-out, right? If I give someone this and they don't like it and they put it down, awesome. They're not our flavor, you know. They're not going to dig the fact that we go to the beach, that we, you know, don't wear shoes, that
you like coconuts.
We get that I like coconuts, that we get all our produce from Farmer John on the Tweed River with high nutrient content, you know. Like, they're not going to appreciate that stuff. And that's the type of people I want to attract. I want to attract the people that come and they go, Dave, this organic food is phenomenal. I'm like, yeah, Farmer John, he hooked us up. You know, that's as much a part of it as everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Super cool. And I do like that it's, you know, it is a qualifier, as you say, you know, people are going to like it or not. And that's probably part of the, you know, that personal development journey as well, is that fear of rejection that comes up. Like, what if people don't like my book? What if it's, and that's, I think you raise a good point, is that not everyone is going to like your book. And that is awesome. You don't want everyone to like your book. You want your ideal client to dig your book. Totally.
You know, I always reference the famous article by Kevin Kelly. He talks about 1,000 true fans. You know, in this type of internet age with personal brands and coaches and consultants, if you can have 1,000 people that just love your stuff and that want to hear everything you've got to say, you are going to have a very healthy and wealthy and full and rich life off 1,000 people. You know, we're talking like micro celebrity rather than like Nicki Minaj or Beyonce celebrity.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Or in our industry, like a Tony Robbins or a Marie Forleo, or, you know.
Totally. You don't necessarily need to be that to be making great money.
Absolutely not.
You know, you just need to be famous to a small group of people. You know, if you're famous to 1,000 people, that's a huge deal, right? You're gonna just totally kick butt with 1,000 people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point. So, talk to me a little bit about your process. What's your process for getting people to write their book and get it out to the world? Because 6 weeks is, you know, be published in 6 weeks. That's a pretty standout. You know.
Yeah, it's fast, right?
It's fast.
Yeah, and it, you know, that comes from the philosophy of it's no good in your head. Let's get it out to the world, right? The process, I actually created the process when I wrote my first book. You know, I'm a creator at heart. I have a lot of creative juice, and I was looking around at the other options and they took forever and I didn't want to do that. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to build this. And the first week, so the create part of the book, our process is create, publish, launch. Okay, so 3 parts. The create part is, and I created each piece, like just as I went along. So when I wrote my first book, I set myself a week, right? And the reason I set myself a week is because I'd known about Parkinson's law for a very long time. So Parkinson's law being that the size of the task will swell or shrink according to the amount of time allocated for it. Yeah, so many people go, oh, well, I'm going to spend this year writing my book, and then the task becomes enormous. And I was like, all right, well, it was January 2013 or something. I'm like, I got a week before, you know, everyone comes back from holidays and, you know, stuff starts to crank. So I'm going to focus. I started writing the book. I got to like Tuesday. I saw that the surf was going to be awesome on the Friday. I was like, I'm going to finish this in 4 days. And so the intensity of the immersion with that container is super important. Having a container to be like, this is my creation container. I enter the container, I'm juicy, I'm doing my thing, and then I'm done, right? I think that's super important. So that's part of the create phase is having a
Sorry,
container.
I'm just laughing at I'm juicy. I'm like, no wonder I was so in. That's just
Totally. That's what we want to create, right? Because if you're trying to write at 10 p.m. in your studio apartment in the city with the Wi-Fi all around, you know, messing with your stuff and the kids are screaming. Like, is that the ideal state to be bringing in your very best work?
No way.
No way. So let's go to an environment. So within the create, there's a couple of things that are really important. Environment, like have an environment set up for success. Having the container, so using Parkinson's law, giving yourself a set period of time. And, you know, we've had people like do this. You know, the number of people that I've had message me that go, Dave, I saw that you did that on retreat, and then I just went and did it for myself in a week. I'm like, great, they use that idea of the container. That happens a lot. So environment, container, support, you know, get people to help you. Don't cook your own food, you know, get it catered and get stuff you like so that when the food's coming out, you're like, oh, yes. You know, baked beans on toast, you know, unless that inspires you, like, don't do that. You know, do food that inspires you. So that's part of the create. And of course there's so much I could say, Renee, but I just want to give people like a couple of important pieces. I think that'll do for create. When we publish, I think I'll just explain a little about this because people are always curious. How do you do it in 6 weeks? Well, we have our team, our pipeline lined up so that the second one process finishes, like editing, for example, it is moved on to the next stage. So there's effectively no downtime. Like literally the minute we receive the edit back, it's like within the space of 5 minutes, it's already been handed on to the next stage. Yeah. So our pipeline is set up, editing, formatting, cover designs happen through the whole time. And then at the end, we have a review and like the uploading and distribution process. And we work with our clients, with our authors, and they have time limits for the feedback they need to give us. It's like, hey, Renee, here's your cover. You know, you got 2 days to let us know what you think. Because you don't need forever, right? That's where people go wrong. They go, oh, well, I'm gonna think about my cover design for the next 81 days. It's like, don't do that. You know when you look at something like pretty quickly, and within a day, maybe if you want to get an opinion of someone else, you can do that. So we condense the process. We go really fast, but we also have checks and balances in place. So we print the proof copies at the end of 6 weeks, and then there's another review process to make sure that the book is as awesome and is, you know, nice and tidy. Because while we do go fast, we also want to make sure that the client or the book writer gets the product that they want.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the publish phase. And then when we move into launch, we have a 4-step process where we help people launch their book on Amazon. Our last 29 clients have gone to Amazon bestseller in their category, which is tremendous. It's so good. That gives, many of them have hit the top 100 out of all of Amazon. So we're talking like 5 million titles. They're beating the erotica, the murder mystery, like the 50 Shades of Grey. Like, we're ahead of those books, which is great. And then as well as getting to Amazon bestseller, the launch is all about what are the goals for your business and where do you want to take it? I know for you, it's been a lot about speaking and, getting your message into more people's hands. Other people, they want to sell programs or they want to establish a name for themselves. Whatever your goals are for the launch, we tie that in with the Amazon process so that you get what you're looking for. And then as well, we've just added in this little piece since you came through, Renee, is we also have a section on how do you keep the wave going? After the launch, it's like a wave. How do we ride that wave for as long as possible? So that's part of it too.
Yeah, and I think that's a great thing that you've added in as well because, after the launch, it can be easy to just fall into the, okay, well, that's done, tick, move on, next project. And I think it's really important to make sure that we maximize the value that we get out of having that book published and, really leverage having that product out there in the world. And it's a really important step. So
totally.
Very cool. Yeah,
Thank
great.
you.
Where do you see coaches and experts going wrong with writing their book?
Waiting too long to get it out. Just like procrastinating and waiting, and not doing it. You know, I had someone tell me once, and this was the impetus for me to write my first one, is they said, Dave, if you don't write the first one, you're never going to get to the second, the third, the fourth, or the fifth. And then it hit me. I was like, oh, I was trying to make the first one perfect, and that was stopping me from starting.
Yeah.
You know, so that would be my biggest thing is that, you know, all the other stuff can be figured out. Like how do you work the title and the subtitle so that that's optimized and positioned? How do you do the cover? You know, how do you structure it? What ideas do you put in? How do you make it into a lead magnet? Offer people the next step once they've read the book. Like all of that can be figured out. The biggest thing is starting.
Yeah, making that commitment and setting yourself that container, giving yourself that deadline, I think. Yep.
Totally. Or time limit, as we like to say, because we don't really want people dying at the finish line. But yeah, I totally hear time. Yeah.
Yeah. I never really thought about deadline before.
Yeah, I researched it, right? Like when I was doing a whole review of our processes and our language that we used, I was like, deadline. I'm going to Wikipedia that. And then I looked up the history of it. I'm like, people were dying at the finish line. I'm like, I don't want people to die. So we put time limit on it.
Nice. Nice research. Yeah.
Mm.
Brilliant. Great. So what would be, if you were to go back and write your first book again today, what would you do differently?
I don't think I would do it differently. I would.
Well, what advice would you give to yourself?
What advice would I give to myself is, look, the only thing that's coming to mind is better, like to have a more focused subtitle and like keyword optimization, you know, because when I started, my first book was very much a, here I am, this is what I stand for, these are my ideas, hello world, Dave Thompson is here. That's where I started, right?
Yeah.
So it was more proclaiming or sharing a bold message. You know, it wasn't. If anything, I would probably target it to a group of people just a little tighter. That's what I'd say. Like a little more thought on. Okay, this is who this is going for. But I honestly think I'm super stoked with where that one started. And I don't think I'd do a lot differently besides that. Like I'm really proud of it because like I got it done and then it opened up so much more, you know? And I think that's the thing here is that it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, some of my best, I've sat with mentors and, you know, some great people in this space, and some of their best ideas they've written on a napkin. Like, here, I'm going to sketch out what you need to do, Dave. Stop this, start this, increase that, decrease that. Here you go. Paper napkin.
Done.
So, yeah, and it didn't look pretty. There was lots of scribbling. Yeah, that would be it.
Yeah, great. So, yeah, being really clear about who the reader is and who the audience is, and just being a bit tighter on that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think as you
definitely
say, you know, yeah, done is better than perfect. And I'm a big believer in that same philosophy is, you know, don't let this standard of perfection hold you back and be your endless reason for procrastination. So yeah, done is better than perfect. So get it out there, get it out to the world, and it doesn't matter if it's not perfect.
Totally.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks, Dave. Any final parting words, Dave, before we go? You know, if you were going to give some advice to those aspiring authors out there, what advice would you give them?
Oh, the first thing that comes to mind is the headline on the back of my book, Inspirational Book Writing, which says, "Don't die with the music in you." You know, you don't want to get to your deathbed and be like, "Oh, I didn't do that thing. I didn't write that book, or I didn't go and do that adventure, or just don't die with it in you, you know, get it out there, because you never know who it'll help. You know, I have so many people say to me, Dave, I ask them what are their goals with their book, and they say, Dave, look, if this helps even one person, if this stops one person from committing suicide, if this transforms one person's health, if one person, you know, transforms their business as a result of the ideas in my book, then it's been worth it. Because that one person might have a family, and then that ripples to that family, and then those kids grow up with that kind of mindset, and then they, you know, 5 generations down the track, a whole community's different because one person published one book that was read by one reader. So don't die with the music in you. Share what you've got. Get your great ideas to the world. And you know what? It doesn't even have to be a book. Post on your Facebook. Write something on a napkin. Give it to a waitress or a waiter. Share. Get it out there. I think that's why we align so well with our messages, Renee, because I know you're so big about sharing. Share your passion. You never know. You just never know who you're going to help.
Yeah, I love that. Don't die with the music in you. We've been speaking to Dave Thompson. Thanks for being here, Dave.
Thanks, Renee. Take care.